Simo Hauha, White Death. He was barely taller than his rifle, didn't bother with a scope, and still ran up a body count that made the Soviet Red Army look like target practice. This is Simo Hauha, aka the White Death, and yes, he absolutely farmed bodies like he used to farm crops. Born in 1905 in rural Finland near the Russian border, Simo grew up farming, hunting, and skiing, which sounds like a peaceful life until you realize those hobbies turned him into a kill streak. By 17, he was casually outshooting grown men in rifle competitions. Imagine a quiet farm kid who could nail a dinner plate from 150 meters, 16 times in a minute, with a bolt action. Yeah, that was Tuesday for him. The Soviets would soon find out about his talents the hard way. He quickly racked up sharpshooting awards and was later drafted into the army. Fast forward to 1939. The Soviet Union bombs its own border as an excuse to invade Finland. Classic false flag. Stalin had just purged all his competent generals, so his troops showed up to a snow war dressed in brown. Big mistake. Meanwhile, Simo shows up in a head-to-toe white camo like a snowman, clutching his trusty iron-sighted Sego M28-30 Mosin. No scope though. Not out of pride. This dude just didn't like the scopes, since they fogged up, reflected sunlight, and made you lift your head, which would blow your cover. Simo? He stayed low, packed snow into sniping nests, poured water over them to freeze solid, and then ate snow to hide his breath. In under 100 days, he racked up 542 confirmed kills, still the all-time record. And that's the confirmed kills. Estimates put the real number closer to 700. The Soviets started calling him Belaya Smrt, which means the White Death. Simo became such a nightmare for the Soviets that they stopped trying to find him. They just started guessing his hideouts. On one occasion, the Red Army ordered artillery to blanket entire sections of forest, hoping to flush him out or just get lucky. Lucky for him, Simo survived. Then, on March 6, 1940, Simo took an explosive round straight to the face, which blew off half his jaw. Everyone thought he was done, like fully dead. The man was unconscious for a week. Then, on March 13th, he woke up, just in time to find out the war had ended. Finland had lost some land, but they gave Simo a new farm and a metal stack thick enough to use as armor. He lived to 96, raised dogs, hunted moose, and never once acted like a legend. When asked if he regretted killing, he said, "I only did my duty." Lyudmila Pavlichenko, Lady Death. She joined the war with one grenade and a shovel, but left with more confirmed kills than your favorite action hero. They called her Lady Death, also known as Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a Soviet sniper who made girls with guns a very real problem for the Nazis. Born in 1916 in the Russian Empire, modern-day Ukraine, Lady Death was a tomboy who outran boys and outshot grown men. She picked up her first rifle as a teen, casually snagged sharpshooter badges, and was working on a history degree in Kiev when Hitler decided to ruin everyone's semester by bombing her university. In June 1941, after the Germans invaded, Lyudmila ran straight to the recruiter's office. Though they tried to make her a nurse, she laughed, showed them her sniping certificates, virtually every high-level civilian sharpshooter award in the USSR, and got slotted into the 25th Rifle Division. Then reality hit. She was given a shovel and a grenade as her weapons. Not exactly a sniper's loadout. Let's say she ended up digging a lot of trenches. But fate delivered. A wounded comrade handed her his Mosin Nagant M1891-30. First day with a rifle, she collapsed two Nazi officers from over 400 meters away. That's almost 5 football fields of "oops, you're dead." She shredded through the siege of Odessa, killed 187 soldiers, fell in love with a fellow sniper, then lost him to a mortar shell. Brutal. By the time she was evacuated from Sevastopol after taking shrapnel to the face, her confirmed kill count had hit 309, including 36 enemy snipers. She never returned to the front. Instead, the Soviets sent her on a PR tour across the US, where she met Eleanor Roosevelt and gave speeches. After the war, she trained future snipers, got her degree, and lived out the rest of her life quietly. She died of a stroke in 1974 at age 58. During one of her trips to the US, one reporter asked her about applying makeup on the front lines. She answered, "Who has time for a shiny nose when there's a battle going on?" Lady Death didn't have time for makeup shenanigans. She had Nazis to delete. Francis Pegamagabao, Peggy. His war buddies called him Peggy. The army tried to ignore him. The Germans couldn't, because he kept showing up, and the Nazis kept going down. Born in 1891 on a First Nations reserve in Ontario, Canada, Francis had a rough start. He lost his dad. His mom bounced off and left him for dead. Frank was raised by a tribal elder, He learned how to hunt, track, and survive in the wild. Unknowingly, he was training to become a one-man scout, sniper, and silent threat all rolled into one. When World War I broke out, the Canadian Army had a no natives allowed policy. Francis ignored that. Signed up anyway. The recruiters saw his skill set and said, close enough. And just like that, 23-year-old Francis was on a ship to Europe with his Ross rifle and nothing to lose. His battlefield debut? The Second Battle of Ypres in April of 1915, aka the first time Germans unleashed chlorine gas. Most soldiers panicked. Francis held his ground, despite an injured leg, and managed to take out a bunch of German soldiers and was promoted. In addition to his work as a sniper, he had a pretty interesting side hustle. He made several trips into no man's land to retrieve ammunition and grabbed ammo off of corpses and hauled it back for his squad. Legend has it he actually injured his back from the sheer weight of the ammunition. By the war's end in 1918, he had 378 confirmed kills and over 300 prisoners captured. Peggy's medal set includes the military medal with 2 bars, the 1914 and 15 star, the British War Medal, and the Victory Medal. He also attained the rank of corporal, and last but not least, a legacy as the most lethal sniper in World War I. Sadly, his service came at a cost. Years of war left him with physical injuries and emotional scars. Even though he was a hero overseas, he came back to Canada and was met with poverty and neglect from locals, just because he was a native. So Francis became a fierce advocate for First Nations rights until his death in 1952 at the age of 61. Carlos Hathcock, White Feather. He brought a feather to a war zone and turned it into the most feared calling card in Vietnam. Born in Arkansas in 1942, Carlos grew up idolizing his World War II veteran father and dreaming of becoming a Marine. He spent his childhood playing soldier with war relics that his father brought back from the war and imagining battles in the backyard. By 17, he skipped the birthday cake and enlisted in the Marine Corps. During basic training, Hathcock impressed many of his fellow soldiers on the shooting range. He qualified as an expert-level marksman, setting records, one being a 248 out of a possible 250 on a mastery range, a record that remained until the course was finally retired. His sharpshooter skills earned him recognition as a Marine Corps Distinguished Marksman in 1965. Then came the Vietnam War, and it was game on. Armed with a Winchester Model 70, Carlos racked up 93 confirmed kills. Doesn't sound huge? Well, during the Vietnam War, in order for a kill to be considered an official kill count, each kill had to be verified by the sniper spotter and a third party, usually an officer. But since you can't just have 2 people sitting around all day waiting to confirm kills, most wouldn't be considered confirmed. Realistically, it's believed he dropped over 300 enemies. His signature? A white feather in his hat. Just to let the enemy know he was out there. The Viet Cong even put a bounty on him, $30,000 dead. Spoiler alert, no one collected. One of Hathcock's most legendary moments came when he spotted the faint glint of sunlight reflecting off an enemy's sniper scope when he was on an operation with his spotter, John Burke. That tiny shimmer was all he needed. He aimed, fired, and just like that, nailed the shot. What they didn't realize at first was just how insane that shot was. When they went to confirm the kill, they found the enemy sniper had been hit through the scope, straight into the eye. One bullet, one perfect shot, through the glass, through the skull. Oh, and the guy he dropped? That wasn't just any sniper, it was Cobra, one of the most feared Vietnamese snipers at the time. A ghost who had been terrorizing US troops for weeks. Unluckily, Hathcock's sniper career would start dwindling after a vehicle he was traveling on with his platoon hit an anti-tank mine. Despite being on fire, he pulled 7 Marines to safety. He didn't even realize he was severely burned on his face, arms, and legs. Over the years, constant pain followed, but that didn't stop him. He helped found the Marine Corps Scout Sniper School and dedicated himself to training the next generation of sharpshooters. In later years, he battled multiple sclerosis, which ultimately claimed his life in 1999 at the age of 56. Fyodor Oklopov. He didn't wear a white feather, didn't have a cool nickname, but left 429 dead Nazis. Meet Fyodor Oklopov. Meet the Siberian ghost who let his trigger do the talking. Born in 1908 to a poor Yakut family, Fyodor grew up in the frozen backwoods of Russia. By 12, he was an orphan working mines and factories to survive. But when he wasn't breaking his back for a paycheck, he was training as a sharpshooter, earning a badge for marksmanship before most kids his age finished school. When World War II came knocking, Fyodor joined the Red Army in 1941 as a machine gunner. His brother Vasily joined too, and was killed not long after that. That loss hit hard, but it sharpened Fyodor. After a combat injury and recovery, he returned to the front lines, not as a machine gunner, but as a new unit sniper. That's when his body count started stacking. Renowned among his colleagues for his accurate marksmanship, he rarely had to fire more than one shot to hit his target. He engaged in prolonged duels against enemy snipers, waiting for them to give up their position before firing one shot. Over 2 years, Fyodor racked up 429 confirmed kills, plus another 27 with a machine gun just for good measure. He hunted German snipers in long, quiet duels. He went on recon behind enemy lines. He learned to fire anti-tank rifles. Basically, if it had a trigger, he made it terrifying. He was nominated for Hero of the Soviet Union in 1944, but politics got in the way, and he got a lesser award instead. That same month, he caught a bullet to the chest, his 12th wound in combat. He barely survived. After the war, he returned home to cheers, but many of his colleagues were left wondering why he wasn't awarded the Gold Star considering his sniper tally. That wouldn't come until 1968, after his demise. Still, he marched in the Victory Day parade like a boss, his medals gleaming. Fyodor didn't say much. He just aimed, fired, and let history remember the number. Vasily Zaitsev. He started as a Navy clerk and ended as a German soldier's worst nightmare. This is Vasily Zaitsev, the sniper who turned the Battle of Stalingrad into a personal shooting gallery. Born in 1915 in the Ural Mountains, Vasily was raised in a Russian peasant family and trained early by hunting wolves and deer with his grandpa. Not normal childhood stuff. Maybe if your version of hide and seek involved live ammo. When World War II kicked off, Vasily was working a desk job in the Soviet Navy, but when Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, he volunteered to head straight into hell, the Eastern Front. Transferred to the Red Army in 1942, he landed in Stalingrad with the 284th Rifle Division, and that's where things got biblical. Zaitsev wasn't just good, he was a terrifying sharpshooter. He'd post up in wrecked buildings, under rubble, even inside water pipes. Enemies didn't even know where the shot came from. If you saw Vasily, it probably meant you were already bleeding. Before Stalingrad, he had 25 kills. After, 225 more. In just a few months, he was so deadly the Germans allegedly sent their own elite sniper to take him out, a duel that became sniper legend. We all know what happened next. Yeah, Vasily won. In his later life, he trained dozens of new snipers, helped turn the tide at Stalingrad, and kept fighting until a mortar blast messed up his eyes. Luckily, Soviet doctors saved his vision, and Vasily went back to war like nothing happened. He started the war as a captain, got the Hero of the Soviet Union medal, and even made it to Berlin. In 1951, after everything he did in the war, sniping Nazis, training soldiers, helping win freaking Stalingrad, Vasily Zaitsev got a surprise gift from Uncle Joe Stalin, a one-way ticket to jail. Why? Because Stalin was deep in his trust no one, not even your war heroes era. The post-war years were in peak paranoia. Anyone with foreign connections or vast popularity could end up labeled an enemy of the people. He died in 1991, just 11 days before the Soviet Union collapsed, almost like he knew when to exit. Chuck Mawhinney. He once wiped out an entire enemy platoon on Valentine's Day with headshots, because nothing says be mine like 16 confirmed kills in a row. This is Chuck Mawhinney, the Marine sniper who kept his kill count quiet and his aim deadly. Born in 1949 in the woods of Oregon, Chuck was raised by a World War II Marine and spent his youth doing what every future sniper apparently does, hunting deer and outshooting anything that moved. He joined the Marine Corps right after high school in 1967. Like, deer season ended and he signed up. I mean, priorities, right? Chuck crushed Scout Sniper School in 1968 and shipped out to Vietnam. Over the next 16 months, he served multiple Marine units, South Korea Marines, and Force Recon. But wherever he went, one thing stayed consistent. Bodies hit the ground. He's officially credited with 103 confirmed kills, the highest for any Marine sniper at the time. But with 216 probabilities, the real number could be more than triple digits. One shot, one kill. Chuck made that a lifestyle. On Valentine's Day 1969, he spotted a full enemy platoon crossing open ground. In one sitting, he dropped 16 enemies, one by one, with clean headshots. Cupid's got a bow. Chuck had a scoped M40. Despite all that, he went home in 1970, joined the US Forest Service, and didn't say a word, not even to his wife. His silence broke only after another Marine wrote about him in a memoir. Suddenly, the quiet guy from Oregon was a legend. Chuck spent his later years mentoring new snipers, speaking at events, and winning shooting competitions like it was still Vietnam. He passed away in 2024 at age 74, still deadly, still humble, still a ghost in the grass. Chuck didn't chase fame, he just chased the perfect shot. and usually found it. Henry Norwest. Henry Norwest was a cowboy, a hunter, and a ghost in the grass, quiet, precise, and one of World War I's most feared one-man kill streaks. Born in the early 1880s in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, Norwest was a Métis, an Indigenous and French Canadian, and lived the kind of wild, rugged life that turns boys into war machines. He worked as a ranch hand, rode in rodeos, and even served as a mounted policeman. So yeah, this guy already had a better backstory. He first enlisted in 1915 under the name Henry Louis, but got booted a few months later for getting drunk and scrapping too hard. He later rejoined under Henry Norwest, and this time it stuck. Thanks to his background in tracking and hunting, Norwest was a natural sniper. He used the terrain like a pro, disappearing into the environment. His kill count? 115 confirmed, with witnesses. The real number's gotta be higher. Norwest was more than a sharpshooter. He was the Canadian military's go-to guy for scouting behind enemy lines, crawling through no man's land like it was a casual walk in the woods. In 1917, during the Battle of Vimy Ridge, he dropped 59 soldiers in just 3 months and earned the military medal. After his death, he was awarded a second, making him one of only 838 Canadians to ever receive the military medal. But even legends bleed. On August 18, 1918, just months before the war ended, a German sniper got the better angle. Norwest was killed in action. He died quietly, like most snipers do, but his legacy still echoes across the rifles of every Canadian marksman that came after. William Singh, Billy. He was half Chinese, all Australian, and took out more enemies than a bad curry at boot camp. This is William Billy Singh, rodeo cowboy and a gold prospector. Born in 1886 in Claremont, Queensland, Australia, Billy grew up in the rough outback with a Chinese father and English mother. He learned to shoot young, taking out kangaroos and paper targets like a pro. Locals knew him as a sharpshooter before he could legally buy a drink, but thanks to the racial policies of his time, his enlistment in World War I wasn't exactly guaranteed. Luckily, one recruiter looked past his mixed heritage and signed him up. Singh joined the 5th Light Horse Regiment in 1914 and was deployed to Gallipoli in 1915. There, with a spotter and a .303 Lee Enfield rifle, he got to work. He'd hide in the rocks at Chapman's Post, an important spot held by Australia and New Zealand soldiers during World War I. It was located at Anzac Cove on the Gallipoli Peninsula in what is now Turkey. By the end of Gallipoli, he had at least 150 confirmed kills, though estimates, and a shout-out from General Birdwood, put the number closer to 200 or more. He even won a sniper duel with a Turkish sharpshooter named Abdul the Terrible. Billy was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, fought on the Western Front, and earned a few more wounds, a wife, and a Belgian War Cross, a military decoration awarded by Belgium to soldiers who showed bravery, heroism, or distinguished service in combat. In his later years, a lung disease brought him. This was due to the toxic gases that he was exposed to in war that ended his military career. He returned home a hero, but faded into poverty and obscurity. In 1943, he died alone in a Brisbane boarding house, aged 57. That's it for today's video on the sharpest shooters in history. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.